Bava Metzia daf lamed daled is the first full daf in Perek Hamafkid. The Gemara is discussing the Mishnah where we saw the halacha that if someone is a shomer and he chooses to pay instead of swearing and getting out of it, was a shemachinam and the object got stolen, then he is the one who collects the kefel and the daled v'hei, because the owner is makneh to him. The owner gives over the kefel and the daled v'hei to him, sort of as gratitude for him taking care of the animal and even being willing to pay, although he could have potted himself. And the Gemara wants to know, the problem is, the only time that kinyan could have happened is at the time that the owner gave the animal to the shomer. There was no other ma'aseh kinyan that happened. So how at that moment was it possible, the Gemara now asks, Rama Bechama asks, how is it possible that the kinyan at that moment was chal on the kefil? The kefil didn't exist at the time. So it's at best a davar shelo ba'al olam. Now davar shelo ba'al olam is a machlekes we'll see in Perek Yizeh Neshech. If you could be makner, you could be kaina. Davar shelo ba'al olam, something which doesn't exist in the world. Here the Gemara wants to say it's even worse, because the opinion that holds you could be kaina davar shelo ba'al olam is Rabbi Meir. But Rabbi Meir only says that on things which are going to grow pretty reliably, like fruits on a tree. However, here we're talking about the double payment for the animal being stolen. There's a lot of very unreliable ifs that have to come true for that to ever actually come to exist. First of all, the animal has to actually be stolen. At the time that the owner gave the pidya and gave the pikada to the shomer, he didn't think it was going to be stolen at all. And secondly, even if it is going to be stolen, who says you're going to catch the thief? If you don't catch the thief, there's never any kefal. Even if you do catch the thief, who says he's going to pay the debt that he owes, and he's going to end up having to pay kefal? Maybe he'll just be maided that he stole it, and then he won't have to pay kefal. It's only if he swears falsely that he has to pay kefal. So it's a long way to get to an actual being chayav the kefal, especially the daled v'hei even further, more far-fetched. So why would you say that he is makneh to him? Even Rabbi Meir, who says you could be makneh fruits that didn't grow yet on a tree, would not say that you could be makneh this. That's what the Gemara asks. The Gemara answers two answers. First, Rava says, well, at the time that he gives him the pikadon, he says, if it'll happen that it gets stolen and you will be willing to pay me instead of swearing, I'm makneh my part to you from now. It already belongs to you from now. Lemafreya, it'll happen that from now the entire part belongs to you, in gratitude for you doing that for me. Rashi says that he's willing to give up his kefel in order that he'll get a payment for sure, in order to guarantee the payment that he'll get if it gets actually stolen. He's willing to give up the kefel that he could have gotten later. So Mara asks, if that's true, so then in a situation where that actually plays out, even whatever other things this animal produced, like its offspring if it gave birth, or its shearings of a wool if it was a sheep, these things now, retroactively, should also belong to the shomer, because retroactively the animal was his since it was given to him, and therefore anything that it produced should be his. We know that Allah is not the way of a brisa that says that those things don't belong to him. So Rav Zera wants to say a different shot. He says, it's as if he says, I'm granting this everything to you except for the production, except for the wool, and except for the offspring, the calves. So the Gemara says, why would he do that? Why are you dividing up what he would say nice and neatly to fit the Mishnah? Why would he want to give the animal but not want to give the things that it's produced? So the Gemara says, that's pretty simple. The improvements, the money that he stands to gain from his animal, which come from the actual animal itself, a person doesn't just write those off. He doesn't give them away to someone. So the wool and the offspring, that's his investment. He's not going to just give that away. However, that it should be stolen and he could make kefil off it, all right, that he's going to give up. That's more of a side, coming from nowhere kind of a thing. Now, the Gemara now says the second shot in Rava, which solves the problem. And Rava says it's not that he's makneh to him from the time that he gave him the bikadin, but he's makneh to him one moment before the theft actually happens. When it's still in the rishus of the shomer, before it gets stolen, in that moment the kinyan should happen, and it'll be a kinyan chatzar. So, says the Gemara, what's the difference between this pshat and the previous pshat in Rava? So first of all, this pshat doesn't have Rav Zera's kasha, because there's no reason that the shomer should have the vlados and the shearings of wool. Second of all, this would be a problem if at the time that it got stolen from an agam, from an open area, from hefker land, which does not the rishus of the shomer, kinyan chatzar cannot have worked, then this entire kinyan wouldn't work. Gemara now moves on to the next part of the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said that if the shomer pays and does not want to swear, then he gets the kefel. Says Rav Chia bar Abba Amar Rav Yochanan doesn't have to actually pay, but from when he agrees to pay, at that moment the kefil belongs to him, and if he'll catch the real thief at that point, even if the Shemer didn't pay yet, he will get the kefil. So the Gemara says, let's look carefully at our Mishnah and see if our Mishnah fits with that. The Mishnah says if he pays, that doesn't fit with this word. If he only agrees to pay, says the Gemara, no, but if you look at the Seifa, it says the case where he doesn't get kefil is if he swears. That implies that if he doesn't swear, even if he just agrees to pay, but he doesn't actually pay, then he will be able to get the kefil. Anything less than swearing, he'll get the kefil. So this Mishnah is conflicting Mashmai, so we can't learn anything out of that. Because we do have a brayso that says like this, halacha of Rabbi Yochanan. Brayso says if somebody rents a cow from his friend and it gets stolen, and then he says, I'm going to pay you, and I'm not going to swear, and then the thief is found, he pays kefil to the seicher, to the renter. Like Rabbi Yochanan had said. Okay, going further, the Gemara brings halacha from Rav Papa, says each of the four shomrim who could have had a way of getting out of his responsibility for the chayfetz, he could have had some kind of claim which would pater him. If he does not make that claim, he gets the kefil, just as in the case of the shomer chinim for gneva v'aveda. So specifically, he brings that if he is a shomer chinim, as soon as he says that he was posheya, instead of saying that it was a gneva v'aveda, then he gets the kefil shemer sachar. Since he says that it got stolen, instead of saying that it was an oinus, he gets kefil. That's the oinus. It would have been what we call shvur u'mesa. The shayel. So you have a machlekes because the shayel is chai for einsin. The only thing he's put for is if he says the meismach masbalacha because of the work it died. So the shayel. So according to the first version, if he says I'm going to pay and I'm not going to claim it was meismach masbalacha, he does not get kefil for that because meismach masbalacha is le'shchiach. It's not a real taina that he could have said. According to the second version, our Papa says no shayel also because he could have said meismach masbalacha. He also gets kefil if he chooses not to say that. Now, Rav Zvid said that Abaye said as follows: a shoyo has to actually pay. For him, it's not enough to say he's going to pay. He has to actually pay the money. What's the reason? Since all the hana goes to him just by words, he's not makna the kefil to him. And the shoyo gets nothing. He gets everything. The owner gets nothing out of this. Why would he give over a kefil to the guy? He stands to get nothing out of the whole deal. The only when he actually pays for it, that's when he has a gratitude for him. Otherwise, he'll just say, I don't need this entire incident at all. Says Gemara, we have a brayso that says like Rizvid, if somebody borrows a cow from his friend and it gets stolen, and the shayel goes and he pays, and then you find the actual thief, then you pay kefil to the shayel. So you see that clearly says, like what he said, that he has to actually pay the money. So this is more according to the first version of Rav Papa, it's not a kasha, because Rav Papa there said he's not makna kefil to a shayel. That's only when the shayel says he's going to pay. Here the shayel actually paid, so that's not a kasha. What about according to the second lashon of Rav Papa? According to that lashon, Rav Papa seemed to say that a shayel, as soon as he says he's going to pay, he gets the kefil. Here, though, it seems to say that he only gets the kefil once he actually pays. Is that a kasha on Rav Papa? Says Rav Papa, no. The Mishnah, our Mishnah said shilim. It's only if he actually paid, and we said, oh, it means if he said. So this brayso also, though it says paid, could be that he said. It says no, it's different than the Mishnah. Here it says kidem v'shilim. He went ahead and he paid. That's not the same as the Mishnah just said he paid. He paid means he agreed to pay, but kidem means he actually ran ahead. That refers to where he actually gave the money. So he says no, kidem can mean he went ahead and he said he's going to pay. He says no, but there's a contrast here with what it says in the rest. By the Seicher, it just says he said. So here, if it says he paid, obviously not the same thing. Obviously, Shilim doesn't mean he said. Omar is what it says by the Seicher. That's if he said. So the Gemara says that's only true if the two brises were taught together, and therefore the fact that he used a different word shows that a different thing is meant. However, if they were said separately, it could have just been different expressions that were used in different places at different times. So the Gemara says that the Bnei Yeshiva asked the Tamid Chachamim, the Tanaim of Reb Chia and of Reb Oishia, and they said yes, the two brises were taught together, and therefore it is a kasha. The Gemara now brings a list of questions as to when the owner is makna the kefil or not. If the first one, they'll all be teiku. So the Gemara says that if he changed his mind, so if he first said, I'm not going to pay, and then he said, you know what, I will pay. So, okay, his bottom line is that he will pay. So certainly the owner is makna the kefela to him. What if it's the other way? What if he first says, I'm going to pay, and then he changes his mind and said, I'm not going to pay? Is the owner still makna to him from the fact that he said at first, I will pay, and he didn't take it back from him, even though he changed his mind? Or do you say, no, he was only makna to him on the condition that he's actually going to pay? Once he changed his mind and said he's not, he lost the kefel. Or do we say that he's actually still going to pay? The fact that he now says he's not going to pay, he's pushing him off, but he's going to pay eventually as well, and therefore he gets the kefil as well. Next question the Gemara asks is if he said, and these will all be teku, if he says I'm going to pay, and then he dies and never gets around to pay, and then the sons say we're not going to pay, do we say that they are actually changing their mind from what the father had said he would do, or do we say no, they're actually going to do what the father says and they're just pushing off, they're not going to pay yet? Next thing Gemara asks, what if the sons actually did pay? Is the owner makna kefil to the sons of the person who said he was going to pay, or did he say, or could he now say, no, I was only makna the kefil to your father because he did a favor for me by saying he's going to pay you, I'm not makna kefil to at all. Next, the Gemara asks, what if the original owner, what if he died, and now the shomer is paying to the sons of the owner? Do you say that the sons of the owner will say, my father would have been makna kefil to you, but we are not makna kefil to you because you did a favor for him, you didn't do a favor for me? Or do you say no, they would say the same thing? Next time I ask, what if both sets had died and now its sons paying to the sons? What happens there? Next, now the Gemara shortens the shilas, only asks them without spelling out the sides. What if he pays half the value? What if he borrowed 2 cows and he only agrees to pay for one of them? What if he borrowed a cow from partners, he only agrees to pay to one of the partners and not the other one? What if it's a cow belonging to a husband and a wife, or belongs to a wife and he's willing to pay the husband but he's not willing to pay the wife? Or if a wife borrows it and her husband is the one who pays? On all these, the Gemara says teku, the question stands and remains unresolved. Now Rav Huna brings a new halacha. Even in the case where the shomer is willing to pay as opposed to swearing, we still make him swear that he doesn't have it hidden at home somewhere, because we're afraid he's trying to buy it, he's trying to force a sale of it. He says, okay, I'll give you the money for it, I'll get to keep it for himself. So that's illegal, and therefore we do make him swear that he doesn't have it at home someplace. This is where we have a kash on this. Gemara brings a complex prices where somebody, or Reuven, lent money to Shimon, and he took a mashkin from Shimon, and then he lost a mashkin. And the question is, how much was the mashkin worth, and who owes what to who? So let's see, the Malva says, I lent you a sela, and it was worth a shekel. Sela is 2 shkolim. So he's saying, I lent you 2 shkolim, it was worth only 1 shekel, I lost it, so I cancels out, but you still owe me 1 shekel. And the other one says, no, you lent me 2 and it was worth 2, and therefore I don't owe you anything. So he's patur from having to swear because he's denying completely that he owes anything. If, however, he says it was worth shekel and a half, it was worth 3 dinarim, it's 2 dinarim to a shekel, so then he's moida at least that he owes 1 dinar. He's moida that he owes half a shekel, because the item that was lost is 1/2 shekel less than the value of the money that he borrowed, and therefore he's moida. It makes sense, and therefore he has to swear on everything. Now, what if it's the opposite? What if the Shimon says, you lent me 2 shkolim, and it was worth 2 shkolim, and it was worth 2 slaim, and therefore it was worth 4 shkolim, therefore you owe me 2 shkolim back now for what you lost. And the other one says, no, I lent you 2, it was worth 2, I don't owe you anything. He's patur because now it's Reuven who's denying that he owes everything, but he's denying completely, and therefore it's not a moida b'mixas. However, if he says, you lent me 1 sa, which is 2 shkolim, and it was worth 2 sela, and therefore you owe me 2 back, and he says, no, I lent you a sela, and it was worth 5 dinarim, meaning it was worth 1 sela, 1 shekel less, which means that he's agreeing that he still owes 1, then he's moed b'mixas, and he has to swear on the rest of it. Now the Brisa continues and it asks who swears. The one who's holding the pikadon, he's the one who swears, because otherwise he may, if you make the other guy swear, then he'll swear, and then the other person will take out the pikadon and be mevatel the whole thing. So it says the Gemara, what case are we talking about? If we're talking about the seifa, where the discussion is whether or not the malva needs to pay something for having lost it, and we say the malva is the one who is holding the mashkin, it's holding the pikadon, he's the one who has to swear. Of course, he's the one who has to swear. He's the one who lost it. He's the one who has a claim against him. He's the one who's made b'miksa. So for sure, he's the one who swears made b'miksa. So that's not a chiddush. Must not be referring to that case. This is Gemara. It must be referring then to the reisha. Well, which case in the reisha? The reisha, just like the seifa, had two cases: a case where you're pater and a case where you're chayiv. So says the Gemara, it's going on the case where the malva said, I lent you 2 shekel, and it was worth only 1 shekel, therefore you owe me a shekel. And he said, no, it was worth 3 dinarim, so I only owe you half a shekel, which is the case of Maida b'Mikzas. There, the Levi should be the one swearing. However, the Rabbanan say, no, the malva should swear, lest the Levi swear, and then the malva pulls out the pikadon. That would passel the loiva, that would make him clearly false, and then it would become psulated. So therefore we say, in order to prevent this to be something that's easily contradictable, let the malva be the one to swear, take the shua away from the loiva where he's really chayiv and give it to the malva instead. Now, the Gemara finally finishes off its kasha on Rav Huna. If Rav Huna is right, that the malva always has to swear that it's not in his rishus, so how could we be afraid that he's going to pull it out later and contradict the guy? In order for him to keep it, he had to swear that it's not in his rishus. The shemer pikadon always has to swear that it's not in his rishus when he claims it got lost from him. So Rava says, no, okay, we're talking about a different case. We're talking about in this case where we knew it was burned. There's no such shvuah. We happen to know that it was burned. Says Gemara, if you know it was burned, why are we concerned? Meaning Rava is saying we didn't make him swear because we knew it was burned. But if we knew it was burned, so then there should be no concern that he's going to pull it out later. Says Rav Yosef, we have witnesses that it got stolen. So again, the Gemara says, then what are you concerned about? He can't pull it out if it got stolen. Says the Gemara, maybe he'll go figure out how to chase down the thief. Says the Gemara, okay. So then when the malva himself also has to swear, he can go and chase down the thief. The Levi could be the one to chase down the thief and show that he was a liar. Says the Gemara, no. The malva knows who was going in and out of his house. He knows, he could figure out who the thief was. The Levi, what does he know what was doing with the malva's house, where the mashka was? Not going to figure out who the thief was. So Zabai knows a different concern. We're afraid that he'll come up with a claim and he'll say, oh, I found it after I swore and then I found it later. Rav Ashi says, actually, they both have to swear. They each have to swear that it's not in their rishus. The one who is holding the pikadon has to swear that it's not in his rishus, and the other one has to swear how much it was worth. And this is what it means to say, who swears first? The malva swears first, because lest the other one pull out the pikadon.